Hello and welcome to a friendly chat as I continue my discussion on some of my favorite TV series. Now there's no list of order with this series of videos. It's mainly just going to be random genres to try and keep it a little bit more interesting. So I'm not just straight up just talking non-stop about science fiction or any other genre in general. So this time around I decided to pick a historical drama series that really is one of my favorites. So join me as we return to the 1870s to the Black Hills of South Dakota, to a small mining camp named Deadwood. Now I'll be upfront about this. As a kid, I did not like westerns at all. I wasn't interested in the time period. I didn't care about the past. I wanted to watch things set in the future. I wanted spaceships and lasers and stuff like that. I really wasn't interested in six shooters and dusty, dirty locations. So that continued for quite a while of my youth, until high school when one of the subjects I studied was history, and I started getting really interested in the past, and it really didn't matter the time period, really. It was just, they were all fascinating. It was all interesting for me because in many ways you look at the past and what we've done to try and hope that we don't repeat mistakes as we go forward in the future. But the past also helps us learn who we were. So I still didn't really go into the movie genre of westerns that much until 1993. When that came out, Tombstone, and I was blown away by it. I was absolutely enthralled by that movie and the time period and the dialogue and the action and everything about it. And after that, I sort of started looking back and going and checking out Clint Eastwood movies and things like that. And I got really interested in that moment in history. Now, it is possible that another reason I didn't really care so much for it is I'm not American, so I don't have any sort of connection to that part of the country's history. But history's history, and it didn't really matter where it was from. I was interested in it. Flash forward to the early 2000s, and me, like a lot of other people, were really getting invested in a lot of the TV shows produced by HBO. And in 2004, David Milch produced and created a show called Deadwood. Now, I gave everything a go as new shows started, so I thought I'll give it a couple of episodes and see how it is, because I wasn't 100% sold on a Western TV series. Because when I was a kid, like everything on a Saturday afternoon was like Gunsmoke and Big Valley and stuff like that, and I was like, this is tedious. I don't really care. But I gave it a lot more a go because David Milch had really solid background. Like he was co-creator of NYPD Blue, which I did watch at the time. He worked on shows like a lot of law shows actually, like Law and Order and Hill Street Blues as well. So he had a really good back catalogue. So I trusted his capabilities. The opening credit sequence, which I will put a link to in the chat, in the description, because which I'll probably do for most of these, well, probably all of these videos, because I can't play it here. I can only play a tiny bit, and hopefully I don't get pinged on it. But the imagery and the music really sets this series up of their opening credits. You like look at it and go, yeah, it's filthy, and it's just, they're mining for gold, so there's bits of gold, there's shots of whiskey being poured. It's like, yeah, everything's happening in this town, or this camp. Actually, it wasn't even a town at the time. So so the beautiful thing about this show, and there's many beautiful things I love about it, but the sets are just top notch. Like they actually, one of the things they did was when they built the sets, like they built the buildings of the town, they integrated the all the wiring, the cameras into it, so they didn't have to worry about and the sound and all that. So they didn't have to worry about putting boom mics and all that around. Like they were just beautifully set up to pick up everything. So they only had to have a few cameras to bring in to get shots, which was genius. It was really brilliant. The location, I don't know exactly where they filmed it, but it just looked dirty and filthy, and like it was just one of those things that they built everything and then let it get the weather affect it and that, so it looked like it'd been there for a while, like right up to the muck outside the Gem Saloon and that, and you just go, this is like a horrible place to live. And they really drove that home, because when you're used to living in our time period where you have access to showers every day and medicine and things like that, it's like watching something set in the past is like, oh man, how did anyone survive? Which is well, a lot of them didn't, but so sets are beautifully built, and the actual location looks perfect. The cast is just ridiculous. It's and once again, like my Twin Peaks video, I'll talk about as much as I can with the cast, but there's so many people that the cast bit would go for ages. So I'll just talk about some of the main characters in a little bit more detail. But it is a massive ensemble. It really is. But you can boil it down to two of the leads, which is the characters of Seth Bullock, played by Timothy Olyphant, and Ian McShane's character of Al Swearingen. And they are two sides of a coin. They really are. It is one of those shows where you have a character that is ridiculously like Law and Order, which is Seth Bullock, and to the point of his temper is just uncontrollable sometimes. And then you have the local proprietor of the saloon, Al Swearingen, who is dodgy as heck. Like he is really a criminal, but it's not even like he's a criminal with a heart of gold, but he does care about the camp, and he cares about the people who work for him, and that to an extent. If you mess up too much, you're screwed. But characters like Dan Doherty, who's like his right hand man, and that, like there's moments in that where they're having heart to hearts, and he'd just say, look, if it comes down to it, you and me will burn this place to the ground and leave. And it's just like, you believe it. You believe that they have that level of companionship and friendship and that, and it's like brilliantly done. But the introductions of these characters, like when Seth Bullock is introduced, he's like the sheriff of a town. He's on his way out. Like he and his business partner, Saul Starr, are going to move to Deadwood to start a hardware business, and they're just like, they're on their way out, but there's a local gang basically that want to lynch the guy they have in prison for his crimes, and he is outnumbered by a whole bunch of guns and a whole bunch of stuff. So basically, to deny them their revenge, Seth executes the prisoner, and the guy's crying because he's like, he's going to get hanged, and he's like, but this is too short. My neck won't break. And he goes, I'll make sure it breaks. And he just executes him in front of everybody to deny them their revenge, and make sure the prisoner gets the execution that is just. So straight off the bat, Seth Bullock is introduced as someone who's uncompromising when it comes to the law, and his actual system of justice. And it's like, wow, he's not someone you want to mess with. On the flip side to that, when they introduce Al Swearingen, he is having a wonderful conversation with another great character played by Ellswood, who's played by Jim Beaver, who a lot of people remember from Supernatural. And they're having this great conversation as basically on life in general, as Al is weighing like the gold that Ellswood has mined that day. And he gives him an offer and says, I'll give you this in cash, or I'll give you this in some cash and some credit in the saloon. And during the conversation, Ellswood has this, and I'm going to paraphrase it here because there's a lot of swearing in the show. He just says, you're a liar, Al, but damn do you lie pretty. And it's just this brilliant, eloquent conversation between two men who are basically just shooting the breeze while business is going down. And it's just like, straight away, after the two introductions of the two main characters of this show, I was hooked. I was like, wow, if this is the level of dialogue and this is the level of character that we're going to be getting from just a few characters, I'm in. I'm 100% in. Now, the other thing I found out really early on is that these are real people. Like, Seth Bullock was a real man. He did a lot. Like, I really do think that if you are interested in this show and you haven't watched it, or even if you haven't watched it and you haven't really looked into it, look up who these people were and what they accomplished. Seth Bullock accomplished so much. Like that. There's a hotel that they built in Deadwood that still stands and operates today. That he and Saul Starr built, and it's like, wow, he got a president elected. He was a man who put his mind to something and it get done. So it really fascinating. So there is fiction with true people in this series, which is great. Unfortunately, it only went for 3 seasons and it got unceremoniously cancelled, which was really, really, like, I was gutted by that. Fortunately, about a decade later, they did a movie to basically wrap things up. And it was well done because by that point, characters had aged and they looked like they'd lived like another 10 years. And it was beautiful because they showed what the town had accomplished. Well, it became a legitimate town and what it accomplished in 10 years. Like, it actually had sealed streets and brick buildings and stuff like that. It was like, wow, this is a real town now. This is brilliant. So you have evolution of history going through it. Another great thing about the show is the fact that, as I said, like, Seth Bullock is uncompromising, but it gets to a point during this where he and Al have to work together. And he does not like it, but he realizes that it needs to be done because someone else comes along that's worse, way worse than Al is. And it is that sort of the devil versus, the evil that is coming. So yeah, it is one of those things where he doesn't compromise his ethics, but he does compromise some principles to work with Al. But once again, he realizes that Al is needed. Al has the ear of a lot of people in town, and together they are stronger than they are apart. And I love stuff like that, where it's, as I said, these characters do evolve. They do keep moving forward, and it's just a fascinating show. One of the other things that's brilliant about, as I said, the dialogue. And apparently David Milch was one of these guys that he'd write like a brilliant script, and then during lunch he'd like suddenly write like new sections and just hand actors like, here, I wrote some more lines for you, and they basically have to learn it on the spot and go, okay, right, yep, no worries. But the thing is that I've seen lots of interviews with some of the actors, and they've just gone. But the thing is, you look at that and go, wow, that's incredible. I got to say these words. So yeah, beautifully shot, beautifully written. Cast is magnificent, and it's a fascinating time period because, yeah, it's like a gold rush. There's Dakotas are full of gold. There's the greed. There's the violence is just, and I mean, I'm not saying it's a great thing, but it is accurate. Like, the amount of violence in it is pretty just, like what you'd expect at that time period. And now I've got to bring up the swearing. Um, Language is, yeah, it is full on. Um, Now, look, being Australian, like, we swear every other word, so I'm not offended by it at all, but it is pretty brutal. And I mean, they use modern swear words, like I mean, I'm not really savvy to 1870s dialogue, so I have no idea what an insult was back then. I'm sure it was very, very colorful and well thought out. But so they use modern swear words, but and they use them a lot. But the thing is, what I think David Milch said this. He goes, the wording may not be accurate to the time period, but the intent is. And apparently, yeah, language was, they did swear every other word. So yeah, that is one of those things that I will warn people if they haven't seen it. If you are not happy around lots of swearing, yeah, it's gonna be shocking. It really is. So yes, as I said, language and violence are plenty, but the whole town is full of colorful characters, and they're brought to life by brilliant acting and brilliant character actors. And I guarantee that even if I don't get to say all these actors' names and all that, you will recognize them. You go, that guy, oh, that woman, her, him, that. Yeah, there are so many people, and you'll recognize them from other shows that came out after this, maybe even shows before it. Like, I mean, Ian McShane, for me, he was in a British show called Lovejoy. I remember him from that, where he was like a painter and used to do antiquing and stuff. And I was like, he was such a nice guy who just was the ladies loved. And in this, he's just horrible. But he's a great actor, and that's the beautiful thing. They get to really flex their acting muscles in this. And I mean, Ian McShane got to do a lot of stuff after Deadwood where I won't say he got pigeonholed, because you can't really pigeonhole actors like that, but he got a lot of roles where he played gangstery characters and things like that. And you're just like, yeah, he's just a bit like Al. Even before that, when he was in Sexy Beast and things like that, he was, like, yeah, you could tell that, yeah, if you had to work for him on a less than reputable career, don't mess up, because it's not going to be pleasant for you. But yeah, fantastic characters. Like, there's Merrick, who runs the local newspaper. He is played by a problematic actor these days, but his character is fascinating. In season 2, they introduced the telegraph. They get the telegraph, and there's a Russian guy who runs the telegraph, and he is talking about someone who's uncompromising. He has rules when it comes to telegraphs and that. Like, he will not accept, you will not allow anyone to interfere with the telegraph. You'll not allow people to sort of circumvent him from doing his job. It was really great. It was a really cool character. The Doctor, played by Brad Dourif, one of the best characters in the show, honestly. Like, I mean, Brad Dourif is one of those actors, people just think, oh, it's Chucky. It's like, sure, but he is a phenomenal actor. And this time around, he just plays a normal man. He's just, he's a guy who's suffering from tuberculosis, but he cares about everybody in the town. It doesn't matter, because he's a doctor and he has Hippocratic oath, and he's like, no, he'll look after the prostitutes as much as he'll look after the anyone else. He just cares about everybody, and it's like, that's his job, and he's brilliant at it. And you just, every time you see him and he's like got his handkerchief up as he's coughing, and you think, oh man, he's dying bad, but he'll just do everything within his power to put someone else ahead of him. And it's just really great role, really fantastic. A rival saloon show starts up in early season 1, run by Powers Booth, Cy Tolliver. I love Powers Booth so much, not just because of Deadwood, not just Deadwood, Tombstone, but just about everything he's been in. I've really liked because he's got that commanding voice, um, and just like when he played Curly Bill, he had that sort of cheeky grin all the time. In this, he's just like, if he smiles at you, it's sort of like an animal baring its teeth at another animal. Like you were about to throw down, and it's not going to be pleasant as well. And there he is. How's Booth? Um, just heaps of just amazing actors. The local mayor is a character and a half. He becomes the mayor. He just when they decide we need government, we need to look like we're legitimate. He runs the local hotel, mate, and he is just a sniveling sort of character, played beautifully by William Sanderson. People remember him as James Sebastian from Blade Runner. But he's just this sniveling character that wants to be big time, but really doesn't have the ability to do it. He's not an idiot, but he's just not competent either. He also thinks he's way better beyond his station than he really is. But just fascinating character. And as is, all these characters have brilliant dialogue. Like Miltz's writing is just second to none. Like you'll have, as I said, you'll have Farnham is the mayor. He E.B. Farnham. As I said, he's a sniveling character. He is just, but he will say these soliloquies, and you just like it is Shakespearean in its writing, and you just go, how is this guy doing this when he's just an absolute scumbag? But that's the beauty of this show. It's like lots and lots of great stuff. Now there's some, as I said, there's a lot of historical characters in there. In season, I think it's the first 4 or 5 episodes, you have the actual arrival and unfortunately death of Wild Bill Hickok, because that is actually where he was killed, was in Deadwood. And he is brilliant. Like he's got interesting sort of, he's like a guy that really is kind of lost. All he does is gamble, and that's it. And but he also has ethics as well. He's really interesting, and he and Bullock become friends. They become fast friends. Now, there's no evidence that they ever actually met. Like Bullock did arrive in Deadwood when Hickok was there, but there's no proof that they ever actually met. But as I said, there's fictional stories set around real people, and it's really nicely done. When Hickok arrives, you've also got the arrival of Jane Cannery, or Calamity Jane, and Charlie Utter. Great characters, all of them, really good. Even after Hickok is written out, they stick around, and they are just fantastic. Now, Robin Wyatt, or Wright, who plays Calamity Jane, she is magnificent. Like she is, her language is just amazing. But yeah, really great character. Every time I see her in other things, though, I'm just like, oh, she's great. She's a really good actor, but it's like she's like filthy, and I mean filthy as in covered in dirt and mud, and just. But she was a tracker. She was so yeah, she knows she's got a serious sort of career behind her, but she's also drunk and stuff like that. It's so yeah, so many characters, as I said, multiple facets to each of them, beautiful dialogue, beautiful sort of plot. As I said, they add in the arrival of Hearst, who basically I think it's the father of William Randolph Hearst, who is just gold fanatic, and he just buys up everyone's claims as he can, because he wants to corner the market, basically. And he is a monster. He really is. Beautifully played by Gerald McCraney. And you just like, like he will go from being calm and almost civil to just psychotic like that, and you're just like, oh my god, I like, it's one of those sort of people that you just like, I don't want to have a meeting with this person alone because I don't know if I'm going to get out of here alive or not. Um, but yeah, so it's, as I said, it's just massive ensemble cast, full of, just chock full of amazing character actors. I will put a picture up of every character actor, or all the characters with their name and who played them. I'll have it like paused for a bit so people can get a chance to have a look at it. Um, so I apologize if I don't get a chance to talk about any of the actors in any great detail or your favorite characters. There's just too many. But I really do recommend this show. Just even if you're not a fan of the time period or the genre, it's just a really good drama. It really is. It's regardless of when it's set. Like if you set this now, with similar sort of plots, it would still work. It'd still work really well. It's just yeah, it just works perfectly in this time period because it was just lack of law and order, violence, swearing, just gold rush. Like everything works really, really well, and I think it's just one of those shows that a lot of people, when they watch it, will suddenly go, "Wow, how did I miss this if I haven't seen it already?" Um, and I mean, it really set me up. It was once it was cancelled, I was really bummed by it. So I'm like, damn, I was looking for the next show to sort of take up the slack of Deadwood leaving, and it's a few years later that a show called Hell on Wheels came out, which was also brilliant, about the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. Um, Completely different show, but it sort of scratched that historical drama itch that I was missing, because I really wanted to see more of that time period. But yeah, Deadwood, rock solid show. As I said, I wasn't really going to go into story arcs in any great detail, because I think people should really discover it for themselves. And I think it's something. If you haven't seen it, dust it off again for a while. If you haven't seen it for a while, at least. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I mean, I'm sure it's on whatever streaming service HBO does these days. Is it Max or something like that? If you have that, I have it on. I think I've got it on Blu-ray, DVD, one of the two. But yeah, there's 3 seasons and a movie. Once again, if you do watch it now, remember that there was about a decade between the end of season, probably more actually, but the end of season 3 and the movie. This was 2006. The show ended. I think it was more than. It might have been 2016. It came out. The movie. I think it was 2019. I think the movie came out. So more than a decade. But and there were rumors when the show ended that they were going to do a couple of movies to wrap it up, because the thing is, the town burnt down a few times in history, and I thought maybe that's what they'll do. They'll do one with the town burning down and one with them rebuilding or something like that. But alas, it never happened. They just flash forwarded to the 1880s, and yeah, the town is actually a proper town now, not just a camp. So so yeah, just remember that if you're watching it now, that yeah, there was a massive gap between the end of the show and the movie, um, and unfortunately between the end of the show and the movie, several of the actors had passed on. So you we lost Powers Booth and a few others, and it's just like they didn't get a chance to be in the movie, and I was like, dang. But unfortunately, that is life. Really, it's really depressing, but it happens. But yeah, Deadwood, really, really rock solid, and I thoroughly recommend it for those who haven't seen it. So yeah, I'll quickly just go across some of the cast, because yeah, as I said, there's lots of great character actors in this show. But as I said, you have Timothy Olyphant as Seth Bullock. Um, People recognize him from lots of stuff. I mean, he was in Go, he was in Gone in 60 Seconds. He went on after this to be in Justified, where he nearly played the same character. But really, really solid actor. A very funny guy, too. He's got really good comedy chops. You don't get to see that too often in movies. But if you've ever seen him interviewed by Conan O'Brien, he's hilarious. But yeah, rock solid actor, really brings Seth Bullock to life. You got Ian McShane as Al Swearingen, who, as I said, is the other side of the coin of Law and Order. He's been in heaps and heaps of stuff. He just, honestly, he's one of those actors that when he's in something, he just elevates the show, and you go, yeah, he's in it, he's good, this is brilliant. As I said, I remember him from Lovejoy back in the day. But yeah, he's been in heaps of stuff, like even the voice acting, like he was in Kung Fu Panda. He played the villain in it, Tai Long or something, the snow leopard character. He's in John Wick, of course. He runs the Continental. So yeah, really really great actor. Some of the you had Molly Parker, who played Alma Garrett. I didn't really talk about her very much. A lot of those characters, really. Her character is brilliant because her husband manages to get a massive strike, and he gets killed. He gets murdered by Al and his group, and basically they murder him to take his money, but they don't realize that he had a massive strike, and she ends up uber rich, and she creates the first bank of Deadwood. So she is a massively important character. You've got W.L. Brown as Dan Doherty. He is Al's right hand man. Brilliant. He's always in the gym, the Al's saloon. But yeah, he is someone you do not mess with if you're unless you want to visit Woo's Pigs, which is how they get rid of a lot of corpses. Absolutely brilliant. You'll recognize him from heaps of stuff, and then you won't recognize him from the Mandalorian, who played the Weequay bartender in which also had Timothy Olyphant as the marshal. So yeah, W.L. Brown, he gets around. He's great. John Hawkes played Saul Starr. He was Seth's business partner, who they started as I said, they started the hardware store together, and then eventually the two of them would build a hotel in Deadwood, which, as I said, operates still today. Paula Malcolmson plays Trixie, who's one of she runs Al's prostitutes. She's great. She's awesome. She's amazing. Like, she's strong-willed, and you, as much as Al is a horrible person, like, she is basically just will do anything for him to keep his businesses running and to keep him safe. And she's just really really brilliantly played by Paula Malcolmson. Charlie Utter, I mentioned earlier, who came into town with Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane, played by Dayton Cali. People remember him from Sons of Anarchy. He played the sheriff in Sons of Anarchy. He's a great character actor. As I said, you got, I pronounced the name incredibly wrong, Robin Weigert played Calamity Jane. She was amazing. Just, as I said, language and just attitude, just brilliant. Jim Beaver was Ellsworth, sorry. He's from Supernatural and a bunch of other stuff. As I said, so many characters, but some of the other people you remember, as I said, Powers Booth was Cy Tolliver, brilliant rival to Al. Titus Welliver shows up in the show. I love Titus Welliver and pretty much everything. I could bore people to death by talking about Bosch. I probably won't. But yes, Silas Adams, he ends up becoming sort of a rival to Dan, working for Al. there's just, as I said, so many people in this. Kim Dickens, she works for Cy Tolliver. She's basically the similar equivalent to Trixie, but more of she's more high class than like she's like Cy Tolliver's trying to run a classier saloon to Al's, which is very rough and ready. Um, but yeah, lots of other character actors. Leon Rippey is in there. People remember him from lots of stuff. But yeah, just my goodness, this just keeps going on and on and on. So yeah, I won't go much further than that. As I said, I will put a couple of pictures of the cast, which has all names and the characters they play, at the end of the video, or at the end of this bit, so people can look at them and pause it and go, oh, those people. But yeah, just incredible cast of character actors, and they just bring this entire town to life, and brilliantly acted. And between those actors and the characters they play and Milch's writing, it's just absolutely recipe for success, really. But unfortunately, 3 seasons and a movie, and that's all we get. But for those 30 odd episodes and that movie, a lot is achieved in this TV series, and yeah, brilliantly done. So there you have it, Deadwood from HBO, David Milch, and a cast of thousands. Um, have you seen this show? If not, are you interested in it? I forgot to mention this last time, but in the comments below, I definitely love to keep the conversation going too. Um, yeah, is it something that you were interested in when it came out? Was it something you just were recommended to and got into it, or was it just something you go, I'll give it a look, and then went, wow, like I did? I'd be really interested to know what your thoughts are on Deadwood as a TV series. Try not to put any spoilers in there for people who haven't watched it, but I do really would love to talk about the things like this. And I forgot to mention it with the Twin Peaks video too. So if you have returned after watching the Twin Peaks video and you think, oh, comment on that one too, whether it was a show you really liked as well, because as I said, I like the conversation going. It's part of what I do. I like to chat because it's what I do in a comic book shop. I sell comic books and I chat to people about stuff like this. So yes, so if you enjoyed this and this sort of content, consider liking and subscribing and share if I could turn back time. As I said, that joke is going to keep on trucking. But I hope I don't lose subscribers for it. But yes, so Deadwood, is definitely one of my favorites. But yes, have you seen it? Do you want to see it after listening to this? But hopefully I haven't scared you off with my ramblings. But yeah, rock solid HBO series, gone too soon, but managed to reclaim something with a great movie, and that's that. So thank you for joining me on this adventure of talking about television, and hope to see you again next time. So until then, bye bye.